So, welcome everyone. Today I'm thrilled to welcome Jens Gertow. Jens is currently the Chief Commercial Officer at Mabtech and has over 9 years of industry experience, moving through various roles since he left academia. Now, as someone who hires PhDs regularly, he brings invaluable insights not only on his own journey from PhD to industry, but also on what he looks for in candidates from academia. So I'm so excited to have you here, Jens. And who would have guessed nine? Yeah, it's really exactly because I was just about to say, I mean, who would have guessed when we met 9 years ago? I was still a bachelor student. You were a postdoc at Karolinska Institute, that we would be sitting here today discussing
You were a
careers and hiring.
bachelor student? I thought you were at least a master student at the time.
No, I was a bachelor student at the time. Yeah, exactly. But welcome, Jens. It's a real pleasure to have you here today. So I thought in today's episode, we can dive into your journey from academia to industry. Since, Jens, you made the leap yourself, and now you're in a position at Mabtech, where you're actually actively hiring PhDs for a range of roles. And I'm really excited to explore what it's like to be on the other side, both the challenges and the opportunities that come with it. So I would say let's just start. And I think to get everyone on the same page, would you like to give us a short insight into, what was your career path so far from PhD till Mabtech?
Right. So I studied biology at Linköping University, like a master's, the Swedish one called Magister, which was 4 years, not 5 years. Now they've changed that to masters. I'm not really sure why I did that. I think one thing I'd like to emphasize during this conversation is that it's okay to not have a plan. Like things usually solve themselves going forward. But so I had studied natural sciences in high school, and then I thought that why not continue on that path, even though I actually very interested in languages and writing and literature. Since I had studied natural sciences, it felt natural, no pun intended, to continue with biology. Then after a while, I realized after a couple of years, I realized that it might be hard to get a job as a biologist, just like a master degree with biology. I applied for some jobs, but in most of the jobs I applied, you either needed some kind of certificate that you knew lab work, because I chose cell biology in the end. I began out in the forest, but then I chose cell biology. And I realized that you needed some kind of certificate that lab work. I can't remember what that certificate is called. Or you needed a PhD for the jobs I was applying. So then I started my PhD, and I did it within the field of immunology, which I didn't know much about either, because I had done cell biology, but then I went more towards neurology and psychopharmacology. That's where I did my master's, but I didn't want to continue doing my PhD there, partly because I was afraid of the PI of that group. And so also there, I thought that God damn, I'm shooting myself in the foot by jumping to something completely else. But that was fine, and it was super fun doing my PhD studies. But I had never I didn't have a goal that I will have an academic career. I never had that. But it was fun as long as it lasted. And then I dissertated within the field of transplantation immunology, and didn't know what to do afterwards either. So I did a postdoc. Why did I do a postdoc? I'm not sure. I actually didn't even apply for any jobs in between there. I just got stressed. I panicked because I thought that I could stay for a couple of months within the group I did my PhD, but the money ran out, and they said that we can't have you. After the day after you dissertate, you have to find something else. And I panicked there and just asked the first friendly PI I saw at some kind of seminar whether I could do a postdoc. And she said, yeah, sure, come and do a postdoc with me. So I did that without any intention of actually continuing. And during my postdoc, I started to apply for some jobs. And I was like, it's language, it's writing. I used to write and edit a music magazine, and I studied journalism on the side. And I was like, is it possible to combine this somehow? Like I have all of this natural science knowledge, all of this immunology knowledge. How can I how can I combine that? Can I be a science reporter maybe? Can I be a science communicator? I applied for jobs like that, but they of course wanted some type of communicator education, and I didn't have that. I only had like I was self-learned sort of. But during those, when I applied, I must have ended up in some kind of database for recruiters. So I got an email. Here's a job at Mabtech. It's within marketing and sales. And I hadn't thought about marketing and sales before, but marketing and sales is communication. It's about communicating about some type of product. So I applied and I got the job, and it's been super fun ever since. So I didn't have that plan. I didn't have any goal of working in marketing and sales, but it has been perfect.
Thanks for sharing. I think you actually said a lot of things, and there's some things that I would actually like to just add something on or touch upon a little bit more. So, it really resonated with me when you said you don't need to have a plan. It's not that I always had a plan for myself. I had a similar transition. I went from pharmaceutical biotechnology into hardcore immunology. I didn't know much, and you know how it is, the world of immunology with all the CDs. So that was a very interesting transition. And now I'm running a business, which has nothing to do with immunology or anything I studied before. And you made a very important point at the end that I really liked. And I think this is something I just want to emphasize when you said, I knew what I like to do. I knew I like writing. I wrote for this music magazine. I like to communicating, because I think this is something, when I see a lot of PhDs, they go out and apply and they go like, what jobs are out there, right? Instead of first going, what do I like and what do I enjoy and which jobs can actually allow me to work with something that I'm truly enjoying. And I really like that you looked beyond the subject matter expertise and really looked at, okay, what else do I enjoy and what did I learn in my PhD?
Right, because I didn't want to I didn't have the guts to just throw that out the window. I wanted to be able to utilize sort of what I learned during my PhD. And I learned so much more than immunology. I mean, I presented at seminars. I really liked that. I wrote papers and my thesis. I really liked that. I made posters and got to do layouts of the figures. I liked that. I did not like to do lab work. I'm such a bad lab worker. I get so stressed and I do mistakes and like, oof, I didn't want to do that. So I went to like, what do I like with what I'm doing right now? Also as a postdoc, I liked writing grant applications and stuff like that. Like, how can I utilize that when applying for a job?
Thank you, Jens. I absolutely love what you're saying. It's like you could be on my team actually working for Alma Me, because you really said a couple of things that really also resonated with me and the work we do at Alma Me. It's really, first of all, the soul searching you did. I was on a very similar journey, because the first time that I realized maybe I'm not a scientist is when I realized, oh, I actually like to be in meetings, and I love to present. And when you ask most scientists, PhD students, they will tell you, I hate meetings. So most researchers hate meetings. And I was like, interesting, right? And then just to see, I loved the human connection more, and I felt very isolated in a lab. It gave me such a hint of where I want to go in the future. And this is really where I invite every PhD student, be observant, just like you did, Jens, and I did. See when you're in your flow and think, how can I bring these things in my daily life, in my next job, really, and look beyond the subject matter expertise, from communication to writing, because we do all of these things. And I love talking about this so much, especially on LinkedIn, because there is a lot of awareness lacking among PhD students of the skills that they actually acquire. And I think this could also bring us into a next question, because now I would like to talk a little bit about, now you're the Chief Commercial Officer at Mabtech. And first of all, I would be very interested in how you got to that role. So what were the different steps you took? Because now you're C-level, so that's very high. And maybe we can quickly explain for PhDs that are maybe not so familiar with C-level or these sort of positions, what it actually means. But also maybe we can touch upon after a little bit on the skills that you just mentioned. What, now that you're in the position of hiring other PhDs, what you look for beyond subject matter expertise. But let's start with how you got to be where you are today.
I had so many different points I wanted to make. Now, let's see if I remember them all. But let's begin with, so how did I get here? So the position that opened up for me at Mabtech was managing the distributors that Mabtech has, especially in Asia. So we at Mabtech, we do research and development, and we produce different types of immunoassay kits, and then we sell those either directly or through distributors. And distributors needed to be trained, and that's how I got to utilize these, doing presentations and going there and train them how to sell different things, and also then build stories around that, the different products, and what target audiences and stuff like that. So I began with that, and I've been here for almost 10 years. I have also I have been fortunate enough to have bosses that are okay with me also taking initiatives for different things. So I started to structure how we work in different ways. And that was noticed. And I got the chance to, instead of taking care of our distributors, I became a key account manager, taking care of bigger, important clients, and having longer conversations and longer collaborations with them. And after that, 19, I was asked to take over the whole responsibility for marketing and sales. So I became the head of marketing and sales. And then after a while, we just changed that title to Chief Commercial Officer. We're a very Swedish company, so we don't take we don't really understand titles, maybe. So I did the exact same thing as I did before, but suddenly I had a C-level title. I think you have to explain to me what C-level actually means.
This is so funny, because I'm the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer of Alma Me. And for me, it's really, really difficult to explain. But I guess if you think about a lot of strategic decisions within that field, I think this is often made in the higher levels. So you're not actually the ones executing, but you're the ones having the vision where you want to go. This is how I understand. So maybe next time I should ask Angela to explain it to us, because I think it's just really being that visionary, especially as a chief executive officer, of course, where do you want to take the company? But then I guess every other officer or C-level has their own vision for their own part that they're responsible for. And this is how I see it a little bit. So you're responsible, in my opinion, to hire the right people to do the right job and to make the right decisions to move in this section that you're responsible for forward and make things happen. I guess this is how I would explain it.
Yeah, and also I think another aspect is that at C-level you have like communications with the board, which you don't really have to do at a mid-level. Yeah, one thing I struggle with is that I really like being operative, doing the dirty work, like actually writing those white papers and stuff like that. So what I do today, like a common day for me, is just meeting and then a meeting and then a meeting and then a meeting and then another meeting, and then maybe I have 30 minutes where I can actually like feel like I'm doing work. I have a hard time, and this is a transition thing I'm inside right now, like trying to start to accept that my job is actually having meetings, having visions, communicating strategy.
I think, sorry, Jens.
No, go ahead.
I think it's so funny, it's a bit similar what you're describing. I think how a lot of people feel when they do a PhD and then they come to PI level. The tasks drastically change because all of a sudden you're more involved in making decisions instead of actually being at the base doing the actual work, writing the text and being involved in that work that we actually enjoyed and it brought us where we are today. And I'm very grateful now that we're a company of two. So for us, it's really, I do everything and I love it. It's like, of course, because, as we grow, my tasks will change, but I do love that I can live a lot of sides of the things that I in my daily work. So,
But I think that is an important aspect. You're a company of two. We are a company of 70. So we are not an enormous company. I think and we're in that like exactly at the verge of becoming as so big so that there's no other time than just managing people and managing strategy. But right now, I still have the possibility to also do other, I don't know, other types of tasks that I really enjoy. You had further questions that I've forgotten now.
Yeah, absolutely. We just talked about how you came to the position. So we talked about this. And then really, when you hire nowadays, what are you looking for?
Right.
So because it's not only probably subject matter, what else do you think a PhD brings to the table that is maybe often overlooked, but extremely valuable in industry?
Yeah, so I think what we learn during a PhD studies is to like work with what we have and be innovative, and take initiatives. At least, hopefully, if you have been fortunate to be in that type of group where you had to do that. I had to invent a lot of different things for myself, and that has really helped me in this position. So when I look for people now, I'm looking for, I mean, this is within marketing and sales. I need someone that enjoys being in front of people and talking, and doesn't hesitate to pick up the phone or write an email. I'm looking for people that are like good at communicating both in a written form and a verbal form, because we're doing a lot of seminars and webinars and writing a lot of white papers, and we have conversations with customers. So we're really looking for that. But then we do need, since we're within the field of immunology, it's really beneficial to actually have that subject matter as well. It doesn't have to be a specific type of immunology, but some type of immunology is good. But I'd rather have someone that has just like a bit off in their PhD subject matter, but I'm really good with people. That is someone I'd rather have than someone that like knows everything about immunology, but that then has not as easy to talk to people, sort of. Yeah.
Fantastic. I love it. So when you reflect a little bit back, Jens, when you went from your PhD into industry, what do you think were the most useful skills acquired within your PhD that you're now still applying in your job, or have applied when you just made the transition?
I think since I am trying to market and sell life science tools, I think I acquired a lot of understanding of like how useful a type of tool is in like your everyday as a scientist. I learned like how scientists are thinking about their job and how like what sort of, now I'm getting into marketing lingo, but like what pain points you usually have as a scientist. So I can like use that in our communication, our copy, and our discussions. I learned how to write papers, and I mean to some extent I don't have to produce the data. We have an R&D team that does that for us. But then, like, we have data, we have something. Like, it's not a scientific finding most of the time. It's some other type of finding. But like, they produce the data, and then you have to write a paper. That's basically what we do. Like, writing a white paper or some kind of flyer regarding a new product. It's almost like writing a scientific paper. I don't have to, and that's I'm very happy about that. I don't have to utilize the exact same genre that you have to, like, with the abstract and the introduction and everything as you do in a scientific paper. I can be more free. Love that. At one point during my PhD studies, I actually got the chance to write a review article. That was also lovely because suddenly you could be a bit more loose in your conclusions and stuff. You didn't have to be that adamant and meticulous. Yeah, and then I think, I mean, I tried to, as soon as I got the chance, I gave seminars and labs and stuff like that. So I like got more and more used to giving presentations that I have used all the time now in this position. So that was great.
Nice. Thank you for sharing. So I think it's really nice to see that you managed to find a role where you can really align your interests with your responsibilities and what you do in your day-to-day life. And it seems like you've got a lot of valuable experience from your PhD that you can actually utilize. Talking about pain points, for example, my target customer is the same group as you're basically targeting. So I can completely understand what it means and the advantage of living in your customer's mind and understanding how they think, how they feel, what they're going through. It's such a big advantage. That's why I always think marketing, when you market to PhDs, postdocs, or any sort of researchers, having a PhD background can help you immensely understanding what they struggle with or what their challenges are. And so you can actually address them. And this really brings me to my last question that I have for all my guests, Jens. And it's really based on the sentiment that a lot of PhDs often feel their skills aren't useful outside of academia. And sometimes they even regret doing a PhD. And we touched upon this a little bit during our talk, of course, but in hindsight, how do you feel your PhD has been valuable for what you do today? And do you think it has been valuable? And would you do it again?
Yes. I think like during a time when I was a postdoc and failing to get jobs I applied for, then I was like, why did I do a PhD? Like, was just a waste of time. And then now looking back, I met so many people during my PhD, including you, Elena, that today are like helping me in my career, and also in my just personal life. And like, everyone you meet will help you on your way in some way or another. and you learn from one another so much. Then, of course, I mean, as I said in the beginning, the title PhD, it opens doors. Without it, I wouldn't have gotten this chance. So for that reason, it's also extremely worth it. But then I also, during my PhD, I learned to be independent and to solve things. I think what we learn as PhD students is to become like problem solvers. If you're unlucky, you have a group leader that doesn't allow you to be a problem solver, but that's what you should learn. Um, and that is, I mean, that's good for any type of career afterwards. There's so many, I mean, you would be surprised how many like really, like it looks like organizations, corporations where everything is just lined up, everything is just working. But no, it like problems needs to be solved all the time. Fires need to be put out. You have to suddenly rethink everything. And that, like the PhD studies really gave you that type of, or gave me that type of mindset on how, like, okay, so now this experiment went to hell, but I still have a little bit of there, and I have a little, and then I can like make some kind of new thing with it. Yeah, I don't know. You can probably gain those types of problem solving skills in other types of positions as well, but being so, like the PhD studies, being so focused on science, on research, on finding new frontiers and stuff like that, it allows for so much more problem solving type situations, I think, than if I would have started to work just in an ordinary lab doing the same ELISA over and over and over and over, which was what I applied for a couple of times.
I really think what you said probably resonates with a lot of the listeners out there, of feeling when you're at the end of your postdoc and you don't really know what's next, that you might feel, oh, why did I do that? And in hindsight, you can actually see, because you are in industry and you see how valuable it has been to go through this experience. And I like to think of a PhD as you're paid to learn. You know, what you said, you can fail. And this is something I also want to bring back a little bit, because often we think the outcome of a PhD is published papers. I always encourage people to think of it as a time where you're allowed to learn, and every failure teaches you something. And just shifting your mindset a little bit from only focusing on publishing, because as you will probably also confirm, publications are not important in industry. Other qualities are more important. So focus on learning as much as you can, and bring this into a new world.
Yes, 100% yes. I was the external what is it called, mentor for a PhD student, and that was one of the first thing I said was exactly that. Like you're there to learn. That's it. It's an education that unfortunately is paid for, but it is an education. You don't have to focus on like learning new things. That's what it's there for. And then of course, I mean, you are in academia, and that's probably why you have this, like the culture is so much like published papers. Academic career is the only thing that's possible. Like that's what is going on, because of course the PIs have all gone down that route. But that's why people like you, Elena, is needed to show that there are other paths, and everything you learn is good. You don't have to focus on those papers.
No, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree more. I think this is also, I mean, of course, my mission and vision and what drives me in life to make this knowledge accessible. You can do anything. I always say, and I like to say, the world is your oyster after your PhD. And with this little quote, I would like to conclude today's episode. And thank you so much for joining, Jens, and all the listeners. Really, it was really insightful to hear about your journey and learn from you. And to all the listeners, I hope you found some valuable takeaways, whether you're considering to move into industry or just exploring a new path. And don't forget to subscribe and share if you enjoyed the episode, and connect with us, Almami, for more tips and stories from academics who make their way into the world of industry. And until next time, I would say thank you so much and have a nice day.
Bye-bye. Thank you.